We'll show you two, and we'll show you a script font and a non-script font. So the first thing I do in my Silhouette Studio is choose the text tool, and I'm going to make one that says toil and trouble. So I'm going to type all of my words first, an ampersand. And because I'm going to be rearranging these all over the page, it doesn't really matter where they are now. So select your first word. I'm doing toil. Choose your font. Let's use my current favorite right now. It's called Mintly. If I can do this in alphabetical order. There we go. And it's a really pretty script font. I'm going to go ahead and make this a little bit bigger because I think it's easier to work with. I'm going to choose the modify window and click weld. And so what that does is that it connected the O, I, and L because they were already touching, but I've lost the dot on the I and the T. So I'm going to go ahead and make the dot on the I bigger and bring it down so that it's touching the top of the I, or you could just eliminate it altogether. And I'm going to make my T a little bit bigger and bring it over so it's touching and overlapping my O. Then holding the Shift key, I'm going to select the T, the OIL, and the dot on the I and click weld again. And you can see where the lines were overlapping. They're now one cut line, so those are not going to be separated when they cut. So I'm going to do the same thing for the and. The ampersand doesn't actually have a character in that font, so I'm going to choose another script font. Let's see what asterisms look like. That's pretty tiny. Bear with me. Here, Peony Pro has a good one. So I'm going to make my ampersand bigger and bring it over and touch it on my L, getting a nice overlap on the top and the bottom. And then treble, do the same thing, choose Mintly. Make it a little bit bigger. Just going to eyeball it. And I'm holding the Shift key when I'm using those side arrows so that I don't skew it or warp it at all. Again, I'm going to click on the Modify window and click Weld. Now on treble, they overlap enough. If they weren't overlapping enough, I could go back to the Text tool and adjust the character spacing over here on the right. And if you can spread them out, or you can make them closer together. That's obviously too close. So I'm going to go back to 100%. And then if I need to adjust individual letters, I can, but that looks pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to Modify, click Weld. You'll see that in between the letters where they were overlapping, they're now one. My T is not connected, so I'm going to make my T a little bit bigger. It's kind of just more really a stylistic thing. Now the R only has that tiny little connection to the big T, so what I'm going to do is tilt my T a little bit, because you'll still be able to tell it's a T, and overlap it. And that kind of obscures the R, but not so much that you can't see what it's saying. And since I want everything to stay together, I'm going to leave it. Click Weld, and then I'm going to bring treble up to the ampersand. Now you could also print these or cut these so that they were not all one word, toil and treble. You could do toil, ampersand, treble, but I'm going to try it this way. And I'm going to use the top of the T on the treble to come all the way over and overlap right here. So then I'm going to hold the Shift key and select toil, ampersand, treble. In the Modify window, click Weld, and now I have all one word. I can adjust the size of this, and if I wanted to print it on the 11.5 size instead of the 8, or the 11 instead of the 8.5, I could just make it big. Now I've also done this with a serif font, and you can see how I've just overlapped the letters. I made the dot on the I bigger. This is American Typewriter, and I can cut those out. Now for the eek that you saw at our witches brew party. We have our letters. I don't remember what font I used, probably Mentley. Ooh, that's kind of creepy. Okay, we'll use that one. I could do the same thing. Modify, weld. Obviously, since they weren't touching, but by using that weld, it has separated them. So now I can make them touch. Hold the shift key and click all of the letters to select them all and click weld again. And now I have eek that way. Or I could do it the same way we did the script Toil and Trouble, and I would have it as a script font. So I hope that helps and explains what we did. Thanks for watching.